Words, backed up by their meaning that haunt your days and nights, will have a real impact on your life. Always. So let's find the power words, define them well, and let them take over our minds. We'll start with success.
I was 26 before I ever understood what success is. Success isn't getting there. Success is making a decision that you're going to get there and move toward it. It's like the kid in school that's getting C and D average, and they're working toward A and B. And they're giving it everything they've got. They're a successful person. It's like a person that's maybe accumulated $1 million and is working towards an estate of $5 million, and they're progressively moving in that direction. They're a successful person. Each one as successful as the other. See, it's got nothing to do whether it's a mark for a kid in school or it's an amount of money for a business person. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's Earl Nightingale's definition of success. He stumbled on that in 1951. He died in 1989 and he never changed a word. I came across that in 1961. I have never changed a word, and I've never found a better definition. I think Earl Nightingale has nailed it. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. I'm here, I know I'm here, I'm going there, and I know I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know I'm going to get there.
It's a get rich quick on the internet, richest 15 minutes of fame world that we live in, and we see it every day. But we all want to succeed, right? So the question that we got to ask ourselves is what success is to us, what success is to you. Is it more money? That's fine. I got nothing against money. I don't. Maybe it's a healthy family. Maybe it's a happy marriage. Maybe it's to help others, to be famous, to be spiritually sound, to leave the world a little bit better place than you found it. Continue to ask yourself that question. Now, your answer may change over time, and that's fine. But do yourself this favor. Whatever your answer is, don't choose anything that will jeopardize your soul. Prioritize who you are, who you want to be, and don't spend time with anything that antagonizes your character. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, man. It tastes sweet, but you will get cavities tomorrow, all right? Life is not a popularity contest. Be brave, take the hill, but first answer that question, what's my hill? So, how do I define success? For me, myself. Well, for me, it's a measurement of 5 things. We got fatherhood. We got being a good husband. We got my health, mind, body, and spirit. We got career, and we got friendships. These are what's important to me in my life right now. So I try to measure these 5 things each day. I check in with them. I like to see whether or not I'm in the debit section or the credit section with each one. Am I in the red or am I in the black? You follow? For instance, sometimes say my career's rolling. All right, it's way up here in the black, but I see how my relationship with my wife maybe could use a little bit more of my attention. I got to pick up the slack on being a better husband. Get that one out of the red. Or say my spiritual health could use some maintenance. It's down here, but hey, man, my friendships and my social life, they're in high gear, right? I got to recalibrate. Checks and balances. I got to go to church. Remember to say thank you more often, something. But I got to take the tally because I want to keep all 5 in healthy shape. And I know that if I don't take care of them, if I don't keep up maintenance on them, one of them is going to get weak, man. It's going to dip too deep into the debit section. It's going to go bankrupt. It's going to get sick, die even. So first, we have to define success for ourselves. And then we have to put in the work to maintain it. Take that daily tally. Tend our garden. Keep the things that are important to us in good shape.
I think that success is a process. And I believe that my first Easter speech in the Kosciuszko Baptist Church at the age of 3.5 was the beginning. And that every other speech, every other book I read, every other time I spoke in public was a building block. So that by the time I first sat down to audition in front of a television camera and somebody says, read this, what allowed me to read it so comfortably and be so at ease with myself at that time was the fact that I'd been doing it a while. If I'd never read a book or I'd never spoken in public before, I would have been traumatized by it. So the fact that we went on the air with the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1986 nationally, and people say, oh, but you're so comfortable in front of the camera, you can be yourself. Well, it's because I've been being myself since I was 19. And I would not have been able to be as comfortable with myself had I not made mistakes on the air and been allowed to make mistakes on the air and understand that it doesn't matter.
I guess success is when people are listening and there's some measurable change in consciousness worldwide, even if the needle barely moves. You know, I think that if you're communicating ideas and telling stories, if the feedback is that those seeds are landing on fertile soil, that's success.
I can certainly define happiness because that's what I am. I mean, I mean, I get to do what I like to do every single day of the year, and I get to do it with people I like. I don't have to associate with anybody. Causes my stomach to churn. The only thing in my job I don't like, and this only happens about every 3 or 4 years, occasionally I have to fire somebody, and I don't like. That's the only thing. Other than I tap dance to work, and I get down there, and I think I'm supposed to lie on my back and paint the ceiling, you know, or something like Michelangelo. I mean, that's the way I feel, and it doesn't diminish. It's tremendous fun. So success is getting what you want, and happiness is wanting what you get. Well, I don't know which one applies in this case, but I do know that I wouldn't be doing anything else. I mean, I do advise you, you know, when you go out to work, go to work for an organization that you admire, people you admire, because it'll turn you on, and you ought to be happy where you are working, and get right into what you enjoy, you know, and you'll be successful at it. You really will. I mean, you won't be able to miss. And I don't regard what I do as the most important thing in the world at all, but it's right for me. I mean, I happen to be wired in a certain way that what I do works in this. If I had to do what, you know, Bill does, I mean, it lasts about 10 minutes. And that's true of a lot of things, but luckily I kind of stumbled into the thing that I do best, and that, you know, that it's worked out well.
Just don't take that for an answer. I mean, I think if you believe in what you're doing, you know, many people will tell you, you know, why you're mistaken, why it'll never work. You know, but if you really believe passionately in what you're doing, just you know, keep going. You know, keep pushing on, and then if you don't succeed, pick yourself up and you know, try again. And ultimately, you know, if you're that determined, you will succeed in life.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, you know, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail.
Make a choice. Like, you just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
What is it? And I think it's very interesting that if most people can't define success, well, it means you made X amount of dollars. But if you make X amount of dollars but you spend more, are you successful? Or, well, it means you come home happy every day. Okay, how do you know when you're happy, you know? So I think success is a funny thing, which is we all seem to pursue it, but we don't know how to measure it or actually how to define it. So how do you pursue something that you can't measure? Fascinating. So when people say to me, how do you measure success? The question we all have to ask ourselves, am I successful? I don't know. I mean, I had a good year last year. And what does that mean? Does that mean I made a lot of money? Does that mean I was really happy? Oh, I'll let you decide, right? Maybe neither, maybe both. I had a good year last year, but am I successful? And the answer is no. I don't feel I am, because I'm trying to build a world that doesn't exist yet. I'm trying to build a world in which 90% of people go home at the end of the day feeling fulfilled by the work that they do. So I definitely took a big step forward towards that goal, but I'm still so far away. So somebody said to me, then how do you know if you're successful? And the answer is, if it can go by itself. And so what is more interesting to me as a measurement of success is not the markers per se. It's not the financial goal or the size of the house that you want to buy. Those are nice things, go for it. But those are not measurements of success. Those are just nice things to collect along the way. Right. For me, it's momentum. I want to measure momentum, which is, when something is moving and you start to see it lose momentum, you're like, uh-oh, give it a push, because if you don't give it a push, it's going to stop. And an object in stasis is much harder to get going. It requires a lot more energy to get something started than it does to keep it going, right? And so if you don't let it stop and you can keep it going, it's this, it still might slow down there, but you can get it going again much easier. And for me, the opportunity is to get the ball rolling faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like a snowball. And my responsibility is, because it's not rolling downhill yet, it's not on automatic yet, I need to still keep it going to find that critical mass where it can go, and at the point it can go by itself without me, then I will find something else to do.
How do we define success? Can a bus driver on the street be defined as successful, and the guy who's the CEO of that business not successful?
So when I started out on this journey, I had the same definition of success as almost everyone, which is I thought, the more powerful you are, the more wealthy you are, the more successful you are. The Forbes list idea. It wasn't until I met Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple Computers, that he completely redefined my understanding of success. He helped me realize that, if you put Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak side by side, most people will say Steve Jobs was more successful. But Wozniak helped me realize that success has much more to do with how you define it, how you look within yourself and ask yourself, what do I actually want? What makes me happy? And if what makes you happy is driving a bus and coming home at 5 p.m. and picking up your kids and playing catch with them, and you're the CEO of a company and never see your kids, you're not successful. If you're miserable, if you're not doing what you want to do, that's not success.
So should we broaden ideas of what it means? Is our definition flawed?
I believe that the natural human and really Western definition of success, which is more money, more power, more prestige, isn't right. Look, it might be right for some people who want that, but for the vast majority of people who want to be, a mother and working and helping at their kid's school, or a father who wants to be, involved with their community, I think the idea of the more Twitter followers you have and the more money you have is a flawed model. You have to look within yourself and ask yourself what you want.
What's your definition of success? Find it, write it down, and pursue it for the rest of your life.